because I feel like when you get to a point where you at peace, letting negative people affect you, it doesn't really make sense in my opinion.
Hey everyone, let's start healing. I'm Adrianne Murchison, and welcome to episode 130 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think. What we have in common can change the world. My guest today is on one of my favorite episodes. He is my nephew, Christian, and Christian is 16 years old. He turned 17 this month. Already, he is an evolved spirit. He's on a spiritual path. He's still growing, as I said, and evolving. And I wanted to just talk to him right now about where he is. I thought it would just be wonderful to have him on Let's Start Healing. And he said, okay. And so we had a conversation, and I'm looking forward to bringing that to you in just a moment. Something that has been on my heart the last several days, and actually, I'll share more as time goes by, but just what our purpose is and what we are here to do. And yesterday, I was thinking about the space of God, where God is now, the space of God, where our loved ones are who are no longer here in physical form because they have passed on. I was thinking about that space, that realm, where we are before we're in this form. It's my belief that we didn't just exist when we came into this form when we were born. We always existed. That's my belief. Since God thought of us, since God thought up the idea of me, of you, and you, and you. So if that is true, and I was with God and you were with God before we came into this form, then the form we are in right now is a lower form, right? Because we were formless before we came into this form. We were formless. So, what are we here to do? We're here to remember who we are. That is my belief. We're here to remember who we are. We're here to learn, remember through learning, and grow where we each respectively need to grow and to serve each other. And we do that through whatever our respective passions are. We are not here to be complacent. We are not here to be in denial. We are not here to have our head in the sand. We're not here to have our head in the sand and be passive and say, well, that doesn't affect me, or I'm not doing that terrible thing over there. So, that has nothing to do with me. We are here to serve each other in whatever way that speaks to us, respectively. And I feel, what are we doing? I feel so strongly about how we are here to serve each other. And one of the things that I like to bring up when it comes to that is how fascinated I am by the way that God created us in this form, the way we are in this body. We walk through the world where we are the only people that cannot actually look and see our physical body in the way that the other person can. We cannot see our face. We cannot look into our own eyes without looking into a mirror. We had to invent something in order to see ourselves. And I believe that that speaks to how it's not about us. Like, it's not about me. when it comes to serving and what I am um, called to do in the eyes of God, it's not about me, it's about the other person and the way that God has set this up. I'll be taken care of. Don't worry about me. I don't need to worry about me because God's got me. It's about me serving my fellow man. And I believe that that is true for every single one of us. Again, in whatever way that looks like, whatever way that passion is that God has created in us. And as I'm saying this to you, I'm thinking of something that so resonated for me that I heard Lisa Nichols, the great motivational speaker and teacher Lisa Nichols say. She said, "Our gifts, it's our responsibility to share our gifts. We don't have a right to keep these gifts that God has uh, blessed us with for ourselves. We don't have a right to keep that for ourselves because there's someone out here who needs our gifts. They need to receive the gifts that we may take for granted. They need to know there's someone out there that needs to know that thing that you know. And so we just can't walk around here just being passive and, say, well, I don't understand and just shrug things off. So many of us are working and trying to figure all of this out. And what is it that you would have me do? We're saying to our higher power, our higher source. What do I do next? But we have to keep going. We have to keep moving forward and we can't be passive. So that is what is up for today with me. Remember to subscribe to the podcast. You can find Let's Start Healing wherever you get your podcasts. That includes Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And what else? What else? Please share Let's Start Healing with at least one person that you know. Let's get to it. Let's meet Christian and let's start healing. Welcome, Christian.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm good.
You look
And
good.
thank you. You look good as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I love what you have on.
Thank you.
So, what does your hat say?
I would say Squirt Sandy is one of my friends. He made it. He stay in Virginia Beach.
Splurge Sanity.
Yes.
Okay. Does he make garments, apparel?
Yeah, he made shirts, hoodies, all that. So
Okay. And then your hoodie, what does that say?
I don't even know what it says. It's like it's in Spanish, I think. I don't even know what it says.
Oh, I like
Yes.
it. You got a
Thank
whole vibe going on.
you.
Christian, you're 17, right?
Nah, I turned 17 next month.
Okay.
Next month.
Okay. And you're a junior.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm your aunt. You don't have to call me ma'am. So I wanted you to be on here and I'm so excited because I've had this ongoing theme lately talking about trusting our inner spirit, trusting the spirit within us, trusting ourselves.
Yeah,
That resonates with you.
yeah, yeah. Most definitely, it definitely does.
Why?
Because I feel like a lot of people are misled themselves. So like, it's kind of tricky following somebody else when usually we know the answer in our heart. And it's kind of it's kind of hard to lead you in the wrong direction if you follow with your heart.
It's kind of hard going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. And you know your heart is saying something else.
Yeah.
And so that's a wise way to be. And you're 16, almost 17. How did you come to this wisdom that you have? And I know that's just a little tidbit.
Uh, really just kind of like going through my own experiences through life and like kind of looking back at what happened in the past and things like that. So like just kind of reflecting on what
Mhm.
happened in my life. And,
And then you know that your heart might have been saying something in retrospect. You
yeah,
see your heart was right.
yeah. When I could have been saying something to please the other person or saying what the other person want to hear or just doing something somebody else want me to do instead of doing what I genuinely feel is right.
Mhm. And so a little while ago when I was thinking about this conversation, I was thinking about something and I'm going to set it up like this. Uh so Justin, my nephew, your uncle, he wrote a book which is a book of poems, but it's also sort of a memoir. And the title is what I'm trying to get to is titled Love is Love.
Mm,
And I feel that's so true across generations, across, centuries. Love is love. And I'm trying to get to that commonality that we have as human beings, no matter what generation we come from, no matter what era we come from. I want to see if you can kind of describe or characterize you as you at this age and what you might experience. And the reason that I bring up Love is Love in the book is because I know I went through a lot as a teenager and I was in a different era than you're in right now, but I still went through a lot, and I feel like as human beings, we have all kinds of dynamics that it doesn't matter what kind of era we're in. Like now it's all kinds of social media and all kinds of other things. The world is so different. But when we really get down to it as human beings, you know, uh, our heart, our minds, they're really the same across generations. So
mm.
I just wanted to set that up. Can you kind of share, if you want, just what you experience as a teenager in relation to, when I say as a teenager, I mean at this point in your life, in
Mm.
relation to what we were just saying about trusting your heart and your spirit.
Uh, when you're young, you always taught to follow somebody who older than you, who probably more wise than you. So, but in reality, I feel like even when we're young, we know what is right, and even when we're young, we know what's good and what's bad without somebody having to tell us. And I feel like a lot of things are like the habits that we do get over time is kind of planted in you from what you are around and things of that nature. But it's up to you to decide whether you want to continue with those traits or change. And I don't feel like you have to wait until you older. I feel like you can start now. Like um you don't have to like wait until you 18 or you get out the house to change how you feel or decide what your principles are now. Because it's a lot of knowledge. Like being so we are on social media all the time, it's a lot of things that are getting thrown in our face. So uh, it's it's I think it's the right thing to do to come up with your own opinions and express them how you feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like that's what I just been doing, and like I just been learning a lot. And as I learn, like I kind of see I take bits and pieces from everything and see like, all right, does that apply to my life? If not, all right, I'm gonna get rid of it. But if it do, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna believe in it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Think like stuff like that.
Yeah. And I like to hear different points of view. Like for me, I was going to this I've been a part of different discussion groups, spiritual discussion groups, and it's okay if everybody shows up and not judging each other, but we're sharing different opinions. And
Mhm.
even if I don't agree with an opinion, there's something that I'm relating to in that person. So I can still learn from them even if I'm not walking the same walk that they're walking, or I don't subscribe to the same things that they do.
Most definitely, it's all you can learn a little bit of everything. You can learn a little bit of something from everybody. It don't matter like how you might perceive them on first glance, because everybody they got a story to tell, and it's
Yeah,
important to listen.
yeah. And going back to you, if you're willing to share this, fine. If you're not, no problem. You were telling me about how you changed schools and
Mhm.
that at your previous school, you you didn't feel like you were really embracing who you are and really knew who you were. And
Yeah.
but now you do, you're in another school and you feel I got the impression that you feel even just more emboldened, more empowered, more standing in yourself.
hmm So, what I mean by that was, in a way, I was kind of, I, I felt like I was like dumbing myself down to be around the people I was at my other school. And at my new school, I don't really do that. Like, I just stay to myself now because I don't really like to participate in the conversations that the kids my age are participating in. Like, it's just a lot of, they be talking about a lot of nothing. I'm not trying to say I'm above it or anything because, like, I still, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say I'm above it, but it's just not something I wanted to participate in. And when I did start participating in those or just tried, you feel me, to kind of fit in, I guess, I kind of realized like it wasn't who I really was as a person. Like being social, I'm not really a social kind of person, you know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
so like when I did started faking it, it got to a point where I couldn't no more, and then that's when I went to 10, and when you get to 10, it's hard to come back down. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the one thing that I think about sometimes is just not being able to a person not being able to live in who they are. And
hmm
so you weren't being who you were, and then
hmm
you hit a wall, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like it was too much. Like I can't keep doing this for much longer. I can't do this at all, you know. So and I feel better when I'm alone. I don't even like to be at school because uh, it's just something to do. That's the only reason why I like to go to school. But like I don't like to be at school because like it's just a lot of nothing. Like I
Yeah,
don't feel like other than what the teacher teaching us, we in there for like too long. I feel like we in there for too long.
yeah,
So
yeah. Wow. Well, that piece of wisdom that you're talking about, that's something that a person could be 40, 50, 60 years old and still figuring that out. So to figure out that you need to be you and that's where you find your peace, to know that, at a young age is a gift and a blessing.
yeah, it definitely it is. It's definitely a blessing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as I said, I think about just, I remember not knowing who I was, not knowing. I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. I talk about that a lot here and there. And so I was aware that I didn't have a lot of self-esteem. I was aware that I had some gifts, but I was a people pleaser. And then also, I had peer pressure and all that stuff. And so I didn't even begin to start to consider what I want and don't want, and even think about it. Not even consider, think about it until I was in my 30s. I was in my 30s before I even thought about the idea of high self-esteem. I was like,
Mhm.
"Self-esteem? What is that? That's so interesting." Because I knew I didn't have it. I knew that I could feel, uh, bad about myself, in an instant. And then what you're talking about where you are, where I started standing in who I am, that was such a process. So to know who you are, and you came to visit on your spring break, uh, that was 2021, right? And I was aware that I knew you like your peace. I was aware of that. And I was just like, wow, I wonder how you're going to be since you already had that awareness. I wonder how you're going to be, as an adult 20 years from now, because you were certain. I saw that you were certain about the things that you liked. I like this. I like this and I like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I feel like it get kind of hard too, because when you do start expressing what you like, you have others telling you, "Oh, that's weird," you know. But in reality, it's not really about what other people think, you know, because the right people gonna attract to you. Like the people who genuinely like you for you, they gonna attract to you no matter what. So I feel like as long as you keep that outlook, that the
Mhm.
right people gonna come into your life. It don't matter what anybody else feel, even including family. Like then I feel like you straight. Like you gonna be confident because there's nobody who can tell you anything.
Mhm. You
Cause you
trust
know,
yourself.
yeah, you trust yourself. You know who you are as a person, and you know like even if somebody does try to say you or say something about you, uh, you know you confident who you are as a person. You know who you are. You know, so it's nothing that can really bother you,
Mhm.
get to you at any capacity.
Let me ask you something that's coming to me, and I will edit this out if you don't want to talk about it. But I was thinking about, I want to get to your spirituality, like the extent of your spirituality at this point in time. But before that, I was thinking about how I know you're a gifted person. I know you're a spiritually gifted person. And I mean, I think we all are, but I'm just aware of some of the experiences you had when you were little. And is that anything that you are comfortable talking about? And
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I don't have no problem talking about it. So,
okay.
when I was younger, my great grandma Shirley, uh, she always instilled in prayer. She always made sure that I prayed, or she bought me a book, and I just remember just flipping through the book and I had prayers, and so as I got older, I kind of when she died early in my life, so I kind of forgot, it kind of left out my mind, and that's when I started watching a lot of YouTube, and it was this one YouTuber called Soul Minati, and I was a big fan of him. He used to do reactions, and then he started doing like spiritual videos. And he was just sitting out in the sun and saying, "Oh, this who we really are." And you gotta connect with your roots. And at first, I was so young. I was in eighth grade when I first started learning about this. So I never, I never could fully grasp it the way I do now. And so fast forward to today, uh, it got to a point where I just started feeling alone. And then while I was alone, I started looking back and in my my life and kind of started grieving because I never grieved from deaths or I never kind of felt, I felt like I was kind of emotionless, you know? So like it just all kind of hit me at one time. And that's when I started getting back into the sun because I stopped getting back into the sun because I feel like, or I stopped spirituality as a whole because I felt like, oh, it's nothing to it. Being so I was so young, I couldn't fully grasp it. I felt like it was nothing to it.
There was
So
nothing to, well, first of all, do you think you could turn on the light in the room? Because it's getting
yes, I
dark.
can.
So you weren't grieving what?
Multiple deaths that happened during my life that people I knew. So like uh, my grandpa, my grandma, and then I had a friend who died in North Carolina, and then it was a lot of, and then like just moving away from a lot of friends and disconnecting from a lot of friends because I moved, being so I'm a military child, I moved a lot. So it's kind of like I had to restart who I was as a person, or yeah, and just meeting new friends. So it just got to a point where I was alone, and then that's when I just went back outside, and that's when I like really felt at peace. And
In nature.
yes, most definitely. And
And when was this? At what point?
this was this winter break actually,
Oh,
and then I started eating. And I felt like I was like I got very unhealthy as well. So that's when I started like making sure I started eating more fruits and less processed foods. And that's when I felt the best, and I felt like knowledge was just coming to me. Like
mhm,
just I don't know, like just
mhm.
knowledge that I knew before. But now, like now that I kind of experienced more things, that it kind of set in stone in my brain. Okay, this how I'm supposed to move. And also another thing that helped me too was I'm reading this book right now called The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And I studied Stoicism before,
Yeah,
but now like it kind of I'm just now reading the book because I've been had the book, but reading that book kind of it kind of helped me, and it kind of made me more confident as well with what I was thinking before because uh it just it just showed that I wasn't the only one who thought like that.
yeah, yes. I know that feeling. I know that
Yeah.
feeling. And I actually just had a guest on who brought up stoicism, and we were having a like a range of a conversation on a range of things. And what I remember her mentioning about it was being accountable, for our actions. I remember that being an aspect. Not that that's the whole thing. Is that something that came up from you for you with stoicism?
Yes, being accountable. It talks a lot about following. I felt like following what's right, not letting negative people affect you, because I feel like when you get to a point where you at peace, letting negative people affect you, it doesn't really make sense in my opinion. And it kind of talks about that in the book, how you should always how you should always keep composure and never
Mm.
let negative things in your life take control over you emotionally.
And
And
for me, I'm sorry, what were you gonna say?
nah, you can keep going.
I was just gonna say, with that point, like, for me, a part of that is knowing who you are. Like, in
Hmm.
for me, with my spirituality, it's what you just said, and that's because I know who I am. So if I'm in
Hmm.
that space, if I know who I am, then something negative is not gonna affect me in the
Most
way that it
definitely,
would if I'm in doubt.
most definitely,
Yeah.
most
You so
definitely. I think the same thing. I agree with
you said something a couple minutes ago about, spirituality and you didn't believe it, I think you said, like, and you didn't think it was real. I don't know if that's what you were referring to, but what did you mean?
Um, because like I kind of lost the aspect of keeping God in my life as well. Like, like being so, I was so young. I kind of felt like, well, I feel like a lot of people go through this. Like spirituality is like become a religion when it should never be that. I feel like it kind of helps you. Uh, it helps you with religion. Like I'm a Christian. Like I love, like I read the Bible and I try to keep that in my life. I try to keep the scripture in my life. So like it kind of helped me through that. It's hard to explain right now, but yeah.
No, I get it because everybody has a different definition of spirituality. A lot of people do. My definition of it is for me what it means is my relationship with God. That's what it means for me. So I don't consider myself religious, although I grew up Catholic and I find the Catholic Church very holy. And I still believe, I always, believe in Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit. But if I wanted to go to church every Sunday, spirituality to me is still means my relationship with God. Like religion is say a practice to me or a
Mhm.
structure in my in
Yeah.
my view, in my view. Somebody else may say something completely different, but it's a structure, a way of doing things. And spirituality to me is a relationship.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree because uh, I feel like if you have a good spirit, like that's when good things attract to you. I feel like I definitely agree with that because it was to a point where the YouTuber I was watching, like he was saying, "Oh, we are gods," and like some of that can be lost. It can definitely be lost, and
What do you
that
mean
I
when you
feel like
say
that's where I
lost?
kind of go. Hmm?
What do you mean when you say lost? Some of that can be lost. Some of what?
Uh, like it comes like a narcissistic behavior. So yeah, like, and that's not really a good trait because that's where you think you over people. In reality, you should be trying to help people. You should never think you above somebody else because you
Yeah.
got some knowledge.
But unfortunately, I agree with you. And unfortunately, I think God, Jesus, whatever faith, there's the essence of what that faith is. The true essence of to me of any faith is love, but there's always going to be people who are going to exploit that and twist it into like what you just said.
Mhm,
And in truth, I believe that God is inside of us, so we are God. But everybody can't hear that because they think
mhm,
you mean, all these different things. But if God is inside you, like, you have your fingers, but your fingers are still your body.
mhm,
They're a part of your body, but they're your body. And God is inside of us. There's a spirit inside of us. And
mhm.
that's a part of God. So that makes us a part of God. So we are God because
Yeah,
we live in that space.
extension of life. I was kind of doing research on that. I forgot how to say it. It started with P, like paganism or something like
Yes,
that.
paganism.
Yeah, yes, yes. And like the Ankh and how it means the extension of life. I kind of felt like that's us, you know. As
Mhm,
like we're extension of God.
mhm,
So
mhm, mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So do you communicate with God? Do you talk to God? Do you experience God communicating and talking to you?
yeah, through prayer. And I feel like just through daily life, good and bad. Like I feel like everything can either, if it's not a win, so it's a lesson. Like long as you learn, I feel like that's what God. That's why we're in life to learn lessons.
Mhm. And so
So
so you might pray to God, and then do you experience God talking to you or showing you or guiding you?
kind of when I kind of come to a realization of, oh, I went through this so I could learn this, you know. So that's when, so yeah, through prayer and like just reflecting back
Mhm.
on what I experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that you have a sense of what your purpose might be in life yet, or you're still in process about that?
Um, it kind of depends, like a little bit, but not really, not at all.
I
I don't
mean,
want to
it's
say,
true,
I don't
man.
want to say it
Yeah. Would you say you
because
don't wanna say it?
nah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to say it because I honestly don't. I'm not sure yet, so I don't really. It's kind of. I feel like that's a very hard thing.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. I wouldn't it's perfectly understandable. I don't know who would know at almost
Mm.
17 years old. I was just curious, what your thoughts were and
But
what you might say to
so
that.
like a lot of people, like when I talk to people my age, I'm good at getting the message across of like what I've been through and like ways I feel like I could help other people my age, and I feel like a lot of people my age they understand like coming from me. So like, but I don't want to say that's my purpose yet because I don't really.
You might change your mind.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah. You were mentioning to me shadow work. What does shadow work mean to you?
Um, so just like looking back, like I said before, just going through life experiences, things you felt like things that's probably made you the way you are now, and kind of like deeply searching for the answers. And if I could give an example, I would, but nothing coming to my head right now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm thinking as you're talking, and again, we don't have to go, anywhere you don't wanna go, but I was thinking about when um, you were little. Well, first of all, when I think about you, I think about how you have these spiritual senses, and because I had spiritual senses when as I was growing up, and for me, the major thing was that I would have some kind of, psychic thing going on. I think
Mm,
about somebody and they show up. I think about a situation, it happens. And I know that happens to everybody. It was happening to me all the time. And to the point that it became disturbing. It was just happening so much. And then the gifts just increased the older that I got. But even though I say that it became disturbing, I I didn't turn away from any gifts or any of these. I'm calling them gifts now, but any of these experiences, I was just more curious. What does this mean? What does this relate to? And so I feel that I'm wondering if you are kind of that way because you, when you were little, didn't you see spirits sometimes? And
nah, I
I
don't
did as an adult. Well, your mom said that to me once, and you were here when she said it. So,
remember.
but you don't remember that.
Nah, I don't remember that. Nah,
Okay, okay.
but
Ok
I can see what you're saying though.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more of a uh like I had to actually think hard. The I don't know. It wasn't like I never could manifest things like that. It was just I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying manifest,
Yeah.
but did you have some kind of experiences that you remember as a child that you connected to spirituality or something supernatural?
Oh, yes, I do. I actually do. So both of my nah, I ain't going. So my grandfather before he passed, like the day before he passed, like I could look like I was looking in his eyes. And I could tell he was sick, but he was so non-talkative, or it was just something. It just something was wrong with him. And
Now you talking about
my grandpa Robert.
okay. Mhm.
So I was staying in the house. I don't know why though. And then the next morning he passed away in his bedroom. So yeah, that was some I could it was for sure I looked in his I was looking in his eyes and I was just like, man, something don't seem right. And then the next morning he passed away, you know. I
Mhm.
was sleeping downstairs when it happened. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. When my father passed, I was thinking, well, I probably was thinking about this because he passed in the month of January. But
Mhm.
that day, I was living here in Atlanta, and my parents were in Buffalo, and there was a big snowstorm, but there was also like a ice storm here in Atlanta. And that evening, I had talked to them on the phone, and so they were snowbound in the house, and my dad was getting on my case because I didn't have any food, in the refrigerator. And, everything has shut down in the city, but I was able to order takeout. So I was like,
Mhm.
I was able to order takeout, they're coming to deliver something. And he was just on my case. You don't have any food in the house, just how parents are. Right. So I was just so annoyed with him. And this was like, say, around 7. And then I'm a late night person, but that night I went to bed early and I was in a studio apartment and I was in like a pull-out couch and I was just like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just so mad at him," talking to myself. And the living room, so I slept in a studio and sofa bed in the living room, and the kitchen doorway was, say, to the side of me, and I saw an image of my dad walking across the kitchen. And I had just this weird feeling. And, my what happened was that was when he had passed, and my mom had called my girlfriend who lived a few blocks down to tell her she was my former roommate, to let her know because she didn't want me to be alone when I got the news, when she called me to tell me. So when my friend came over, my friend Nikki, and when I opened the door, I was like, "I just feel so weird." I just felt, like, really strange.
Mhm.
And then my mother called and told me, and then it turns out that what I saw my dad wearing when he, when I saw an image of him walking a past the doorway of the kitchen was what he died in.
Mhm.
So, that just affirmed for me that that was real.
Mhm. Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Isn't it? What do you think at this point you are called to know about yourself and dive into?
Yeah, I definitely want to keep up the track I'm going in right now. I don't want to stop, cause yeah, it's a lot. It's some things I want to change, like my diet. Like I feel like if I fix my diet, then everything else gonna fall in line. But um,
Yeah,
yeah,
you can feel a difference in the foods that you eat,
most definitely.
Me
Most
too.
definitely.
Yeah.
It don't even make no sense. Like
Yeah.
just eating animals in general. Like I feel like well, I came to this realization in North Carolina during winter break that when I ate dead animals, I felt mentally I wasn't as up. I was kind of
Yeah.
down mentally, so it kind of made me want to start eating meats. And I when I used to talk about it with the lady I was staying with, her name is Chisa. She was saying it was studies on that, and that's
Yeah.
actually a real thing. So
Yeah. Because they have, and I eat meat. Um, I don't eat chicken.
mm,
I got something for me around chicken, but uh, it's the studies show. I think that some of the trauma that they might have, that the animals might have, the emotions that they have, that passes on to the people who consumes, the meat.
hmm I actually I watch a lot of videos about things of that nature, like what we consume and how it affects our body. Um, it's one I like watching this dude named Yaki. The Awaken, I think that's his name. I think that's how you say his name. And then it's this YouTube channel called I Never Knew
Mhm.
TV, and I really watch stuff on there a lot and how to keep improving in my day to day life. So,
Wow. Well, I think I have one more question. Let me see. Um, I'm trying to see if I have more than one more question. But the question that I want to ask you is there a time in your life when you experienced a miracle or what you would call a blessing that you knew that was completely it happened because God made it happen and that it was beyond your control?
uh,
A blessing or a miracle?
I think every lesson that I learn is a blessing. The like every single one, like good, like no matter what it took to learn it, I think it's honestly a blessing because it just keep on adding, making me smarter. So,
Yeah. Is there something in experience that you remember that, you just found that like to be incredible that you knew God made that happen?
uh, probably when I switched schools, I
Yeah.
probably had to go through that, like, cause I never been the type to just get emotional. So like I got like really angry and like I had to go through that to learn to like come to where I'm at now. Cause I probably if I never went through that, I probably still would be following what I see on the internet. Cause I was looking up to a lot of people on the internet. I feel like that's where a lot of the youth get led astray. They don't get time to find who they really are as a person because they're always on their phones or at school or they don't really get to think.
Mhm. You shed a part of yourself that wasn't benefiting you.
Yeah, most definitely.
Is there anything I haven't brought up that would be good to know?
Uh, Not that I can think of. Think of.
What makes you happy?
Oh, I like working out. Like if I don't work out, I feel like a bum. Like I don't know. But other than that, nothing really. I don't really like.
What about, like, what brings you like, what do you find is there anything, maybe you're still figuring it out, like, that you find to be, like, so much fun, like, it brings you joy? Like you're like, yeah, I really like doing this. Like it really brings you like this high inside your heart.
It used to be running
Yeah.
in 8th grade. It used to be running, and then I like playing basketball, but I don't like really competitive, so it's not really like a fun thing. It's more like I'm trying to win, you know. But other than that, no, I don't really.
We got to find some joy.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, that's the essence. That's the essence of things.
Yeah, most definitely. What do you find joy in? Podcasting.
Definitely, I find joy in podcasting. I find I get joy in running. I get joy in talking to people like you know, family, laughing, you know, with people I love. Really fills my heart, and
Hmm.
I get a lot of joy talking about God and being in my purpose. And I
So,
know that. Hmm?
what do you feel like your purpose is?
I think that part of my purpose is to talk about God in a way that people, because God is so personal to everyone, and to talk about people, God in a way where people can let their guards down. And in that way, maybe they can understand, anybody who doesn't, that God is love and that God loves us no matter what. You know, just that simple truth can lead to so many different things.
Most
And yeah, help us connect with each other and connect with ourselves like you're doing, stand in our passion and our truth.
Most definitely. I definitely agree.
Thank you, Christian. I really appreciate you doing this. I'm not going to let this be the last time. That's okay with you.
I
What do you think about that?
don't know. Maybe in like 2 years.
2 years.
Mm,
Something might come up and you'll be like, "I wanna talk about this on your podcast." I bet that happens.
it might.
Well, thank you.
No problem. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can listen to all Let's Start Healing episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Please share Let's Start Healing with at least one person. Until next time, let's start healing.